Let's get started. We're good with the camera? All right. So first, a little bit about me. I just break another thing here. So I am software engineer in test. So basically, I get paid to break stuff, which is awesome. I got a lot of experience in the area. I specialize in test automation, test frameworks, and whatnot. I joined Shape and CloudStack in 2016, and I've been recently appointed to join the PMC, which is great. Today I'm going to be talking to you a bit about troubleshooting the virtual router. And what do we do when things get messy? So the virtual router is essential for CloudStack and for the network model. We have a real great networking model that is multi-tenant. You can facilitate shared networks, isolated networks, VPC and whatnot. And you can run various network services in it. And most of the people use the virtual router to facilitate these services like DHCP, static NAT, firewall and whatnot. And the virtual router is really, really great. It's working fine, and it's really easy to model and to configure. You have this UI designer of networks that you specify everything in the UI, and it gets provisioned into the VR, which is great. But the issues are. It starts to get funny when it starts not to be working, and you start to ask yourself what's wrong with it and how do we fix it. So here we got some new features that are really, really neat, and it really makes your life easier and to get yourself around what's happening basically. So first of all, the first one is Get Diagnostics. So with this one, you are basically able to fetch data from the VR. So meaning you can get config files, you can get log files, and you can get everything that you basically need to figure out what's basically happening in your VR. Is it the DHCP not configured properly? Are you missing some IP configuration? Did something funny with the IP ranges or whatever? So with this feature, you can directly from CloudStack console, you can directly call the API, and it will go to the VR. It will gather all the files that you need, like the log files or the IPtables or the network controller configuration. It will buckle them up in a archive. It will and then it will post them back on the secondary storage, which from where you can download them locally. So let's talk about some defaults and some files that you can get by default by calling the API. So with routers, you get IPtables, ifconfig, route, and these are some basic Linux commands that gives you an idea what's your current configuration. Other than that, you can get some various config files like the DNS mask, cloud.lock, and whatnot more than that. And with the system VMs, you get almost the same set of files, simply without the network services related one. This feature is Hypervisor agnostic, so it runs on KVM, on Xen, on VMware. It doesn't really matter what your hypervisor is, as long as you have your secondary storage VM up and running to do the file transferring. You can simply use it. It's that easy. So other than files, you can also other than the defaults that that we just discussed, you can get some custom files from the VR. Like for example, if you are running your private version of the template and you want to get some specific file that is important to you, you can simply type in the absolute path of the file within the API, and it will get it back to you, and you get displayed with it. I'll show that a bit later in a demo. And you can also run some custom scripts that you've prepared for at your virtual router. It's just only that you need to specify them in brackets, and you need to place them in that specific directory. Sorry. Let's go through some settings about the feature. First off is some garbage collection, because you are basically, when you request these files, you store them on the secondary storage, and at some point you might get a little bit crowded, and you might start to run out of space if that's a lot of files. So then you probably need to enable the garbage collection, which would circulate and pick up files that have been identified to be cleaned, and you just keep good housekeeping of your storage, and you're not gonna run out of space, for example. So the next one is the interval that your job is going to run. So by default, this is 1 hour. So every hour it will go and check for such files, and it will simply remove them. And the diagnostics data retrieval with timeout is when you basically execute a command, the API. If you run a script or execute a particular command that may take a lot of time, you can define a specific timeout that will basically fail the call if it takes too much time, considering something went wrong with it. In the next file, the next configuration is actually where you define what files you should be looking forward to delete, like in terms of age. And this one I think is 1 day, if I'm not mistaken. That's in seconds. So that will go every hour with this set of settings. Basically, it will go every hour, looking for files that are bigger than 1 day, that are older than 1 day, and it will simply delete them. And the last one is a threshold that will basically disable the feature if you're running out of space on your secondary storage. So for example, if your secondary storage is more than 90% occupied, it will simply disable the feature, and you won't be able to use it. Cool. Some more info about Get Diagnostics. That has been merged with this particular PR number, and it's currently available in the latest LTS and 4.12, I think. And here's a wiki. I'm going to share that slides later with you guys, that you can basically have a browse and see some further details with it. There are a few limitations with it. So basically, in order to work, as I mentioned, you need to, if you want to get a specific file, you can't just type the file name. That won't work. You need to explicitly specify the full path to the file, and it will go and get it simply. You will absolutely need a running and online SystemVM, like the secondary storage VM, to be able to proceed and get the file and get it moved to the secondary storage, so you can simply download it from there. You should have a secondary storage pool available by default by less than 90% occupied. This feature for now just supports system VMs. You can't really use it against your user VMs. You can use it against console proxy, against secondary storage VM, or any routers. As I just mentioned, any script, if you would like to execute, like if you have a custom script that will go and reset all your NICs, or that will restart any services locally, that needs to be in that specific place, cloud/bin. And the response, the actual response of the API is not the file, but it's just an URL that you can simply go and download the file from. Cool. So I'm gonna pause this for now, and I'm gonna just show it to you guys right away. So here I have my environment. See that? Okay. Let me just log into it. In my environment, I have a simple network that is isolated network. I have some VMs running in it. That's not important for now. We go to the virtual router of it, and by simply extending this option, we see that we have this option Get Diagnostics Data, and when we click on it, we get this dialog window where we can specify a specific file that we want to download, or we can leave it blank, and it will fall back to the defaults with all that configs and log files and whatnot, and it will buckle it up in an archive, and we'll have it. So it takes a couple of seconds to execute, and we have been given with this zip file to download, and which if we actually open, we see all these sort of files that are defined in the configs, in the global settings. Sorry. And yeah, you can have a look at the cloud.log, for example, and it has all the latest info in it, and do whatever you like to diagnose, determine, and you simply wouldn't have to SSH into the VR and look for all these files that you previously spent like 30 minutes on the internet having to find them where they exactly are sitting. Let's try that custom file. So if we have, let's say, some file inside the VR, just let me log into it. So let's say that we need to get a specific file. Let's go with CCC. Let's say that works. Oh. And we know that this file is located at root/ccc, and if we go now in the UI and say get me root.ccc, it will skip the default ones and it will go searching for that single file only, and you get the same archive with our CCC file, which has all the info that we are after. So that's Get Diagnostics, and if you like, we can proceed with the next one, which is Run Diagnostics. So Run Diagnostics is a feature that enables you to run some network, some native Unix networking commands that would basically tell you what's your connectivity status and what's if you're able to reach a destination or are you connected to the internet. Basically, these commands are so yeah, you can use it on all the SystemVM types like VR, SVM, and console proxy VM, and it supports the ping. Obviously, that's the I think most common used command. So you can ping a destination either inside or outside your cloud to determine if you have connectivity from that VR or SystemVM to your custom destination. If that's still not making much sense for your troubleshooting, you can use rping. I'm sorry. You can use rping and specify, for example, a custom NIC that you would like to go through your ping to go through a custom NIC and be more specific. And the last one is trace route. So you can basically see how many hops you have until you reach your destination, get displayed of the delays, and figure out what could be wrong at reaching out to your destination. So again, this feature is hypervisor agnostic. So as long as you are your SystemVM is running, you can use it. As long as your it can be contacted, you can simply use it. It runs for secondary storage console proxy and virtual routers. The PR got merged in 4.12, and it's ready to be used. Some further documentation about it, like design feature spec, if you want to go with some deep details in it. And I've recently wrote a blog about these two features. You can also check it out and see some further details about it. And let me quickly show you this feature as well. If we go to the same VR that we have, there's the icon that we can just simply call the API. Here we have the three options that are available: ping, trace route, and rping. And for example, we can say, let's say google.com, and let's say we're gonna ping it 4 times. And right now it's logging into that particular VR, it's executing the command, and it's gonna give back the response to us. It's not the prettiest response by now, but it's still you can get the idea of how your traceability is doing. All right. Some credits. This feature has mainly been worked from Dingane, Hauku, Rohit Yadav, which is sitting right there, and the Shape Blue dev team. There's also a lot of people from community being involved with these features that have been in further testing, in reviewing, and various discussions. And yeah, you have questions, guys? All right.
Are there any limits to which file you can download the Get Diagnostics? Can you grab any file of the file system?
Oh yeah, you can grab any file. You just simply specify the file path, and you can get it. Well, the limitation goes by if your storage isn't like more than 90% occupied, and if it is, it's simply gonna disable the feature, and you're not gonna be able to run it. But if it's still enough space, you'll be able to get the file.
Does this look at files from a FS level, or can I specify something like a proc file system as well?
What file system, sorry?
So suppose I need something like a CPU info.
Okay.
Can I specify a /proc CPU info?
Yes.
Or is it?
Yes. Yeah, you can also specify. You can also run actually commands. Like you can pass the arguments and run the commands just in brackets, and it will prompt you the output of the command.
This is available from 4 point?
The Run Diagnostics. Just let me get back to. Run Diagnostics is not yet been merged, I think. It has been submitted against 4.13, but it's still under testing and under verification, and it's It was it was targeted for 4.13, but unfortunately we couldn't manage to get it in, and we're looking forward to get it merged in the next, probably in winter LTS, but no promises. Cool. And I just want to show you this slide. Any other questions, guys?
Can I customize column?
So what?
Can I customize column?
Oh yeah, you can have a script. Yeah, you can have a script, get it on the VR, put it in that /opt/cloud/bin directory, and you can simply call the API with brackets and the script name, and it will execute and get back the result to you. So, yeah.
One philosophical question. Why is it only files? Why not? Why a download link? Why not a direct response?
Well, you get the response, yeah. I mean,
for maybe find connections or number of connections and all those things, then that will solve a lot of VR parameters which one can easily monitor with this API.
or you get the output of the command that you execute. So you get you if you're executing a script, you get the output of the script. If that's listing all your connections, you're gonna see it.
But that's going to be direct, right? Or will that be like a download link?
Yeah, it will be downloadable. It's just how it works. Because that's one way of using it. But if you want to get the log files, you can see that's gonna be bigger. So you're gonna need a downloadable file for it.
Thanks. This will be 2 times the space, right?
2 times the space?
If you have the log, you create an archive on the VR and then move it to the secondary storage.
It will only live on the secondary storage, and as long as your secondary storage is not fully occupied, like less than 90%, you'll be able to execute it.
The archive is created on the VR or on the secondary storage directly?
Directly on the secondary storage. I think it could probably be created on the VR, but then it gets... Yeah.
So when you're running out of space, then this won't work as effectively.
On the VR, yes. But effectively, I think we put the zip ball in the root file system. So in the current state of VR, we don't allow logs to be... Log has a separate partition.
Yeah, but if you try to take that into the root partition, you run out of root partition.
If the archive cannot fit in that root file, yes. We have some ideas around that. Like in future, what we want is to be able to specify the disk size of the virtual router. Because a lot of organizations basically they think that 2 gigs of disk space is not enough.
Yeah.
You have currently the ability to specify a separate compute offering for virtual routers, but not the root disk size. So that problem will be solved that way.
Cool. All right. More questions? Whoever gets to ask many questions, Giles gonna buy him a beer, you know. Steve? All right. Thank you, guys.